Hello students, good morning. Let's continue the same lesson, that is Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom, and the page number is 21, 22 and 23. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to uh, fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. The meaning of obligation is duty, commitment, or responsibility. Every man has two obligations, that is responsibility in his life, responsibility towards his family as well as to the society. Generally, a person maintains the balance between these two. Each man fulfills the obligations according to his capacity and desire, if not according to the importance, like society or family. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. See, it is true that, but in the previous paragraph I said that obligations according to their importance they give. But in a country like South Africa, it seems it was not so easy to fulfill these responsibilities, because a man of color who came up for the sake of society, if not who wanted to change the society or who wanted to live like a human being, was punished and was also taken away from his family. It seems he was isolated, he was ripped and thrown away from his family members. If not, he was a man who tried to fulfill his duties to his community. He was forcibly or unavoidably punished, and also made him lead a dim life. That's what here twilight existence mean. He was forced to live a dim life, and not only that, that dim light, or if the twilight existence made him to revolt against the people. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Here, in the beginning, he did not put his people over his society, it seems, or if not the people. And first priority was given to his family members itself. But later on, what happened? He realized that he had to serve his people, and when he got the thought of serving his people, he was prevented to perform his obligation, because he has his own obligations like a son, brother, father and husband. These, it seems, he says that these obligations he could not perform it properly. When he thought of serving society, it says that these obligations he got prevented. He could not perform these obligations successfully. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of the slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. The paragraph is very simple. He says about his childhood. He enjoyed his childhood, it seems, like any other normal child. He was born free to move in the fields, or if not to swim in the clear stream. And also he ate, it seems, roasted maize. Roasted maize is nothing else like corns. And along with that, he also says that he enjoyed moving on the black bulls, that big black bulls, it seems, on their broad backs. He sat and enjoyed moving on that. And not only that, as long as he obeyed his customs and rules of his tribe and his father, he was not troubled. He was not troubled by man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my freedom, boyhood freedom, was an illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. See, it's true that as the time flew by, Nelson Mandela came to know the fact that gradually he understood that the freedom what they were enjoying was an illusion. And it's not only he, even the South African people, the dark skinned people, also needs freedom. And not see here, as a boy, it seems, as we all know that according to the stages, everyone needs freedom according to their levels or according to their growth. Here, Nelson Mandela says, as a boy, it seems, his mind was very limited. He expected only freedom for going out and for reading a book, it seems, and whatever, as a student, whatever interest he had, he did it. But as the time flew by, he grew young, and when uh, he was a man in Johannesburg, it seems, he yearned for a honorable freedom. By the time he grew up, he was a young man, and what he expected, it seems, at that age, he needs a satisfying life, it seems. He wanted to marry, he wanted to lead a peaceful life, and he wanted to earn his keep also, it seems. The meaning of his keep is to continue his life in a peaceful position for food, clothes, and other amenities. On the whole, he wanted to have a life which is not obstructed, and he wanted to lead a life within the law. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. Slowly, he says, almost all the same meaning is there in this paragraph also. He says that he not only realized that he was not free, even his brothers and sisters were also not free, it seems. If the people of South Africa were also not free. Their basic rights have been curtailed, limited, if not snatched from them, it seems. So he thought of giving freedom to them. For that, he needs a political power. So he joined African National Congress because he developed a hunger for the freedom, it seems. And his own freedom became, means hunger for his own freedom became hunger for the freedom of his people, it seems. If not, he wanted to make the people of South Africa free. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. See, it was a desire for the freedom of his people. He desired the people must live with lot of dignity and self-respect that made him lively, it seems, that changed his thought of mind. And when he changed his thought of mind, it is true that he transformed. He says that at once he became bold. The line goes like this: a frightened young man into a bold one. Actually, he was a very simple man who leads a simple life. But when he got a thought of freedom and fight for the freedom of Africa, then the simple man turned into very bold. He became wild. And not only that, in the continuation, still more are also given examples that drove a law abiding attorney, it seems. Means law abiding lawyer became a criminal, and that turned a family loving husband. A simple and a good human being turned into a man without home. And not only that, even forced life loving man to a monk, it seems. A man who loved his life very beautifully, he might have imagined his life very beautifully and excellently. Such man turned his life, or he turned himself into a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed. When I knew my people were not free, freedom is invisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Nelson Mandela says that he felt he could not enjoy the limited freedom. Not only he, it seems, even anyone, like if the freedom is restricted and limited, a person feels it very difficult to enjoy. That made him selfless man. According to him, freedom cannot be divided actually. It's restricting or limiting freedom is not good. And the last lines he says, though the freedom is invisible, it invisible. He uses a word called chain. Chains are nothing else snatching. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. Here, snatching freedom from any one of them is snatching freedom from all of them, it seems. And the chains on all of my people says that snatching freedom from all of his people is like snatching freedom from him. On the whole, it is interlinked. And that's what on the whole the paragraph says, that freedom should not be limited. He cannot enjoy freedom which is limited. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. See, the meaning of oppressor is a person who tortures is called as oppressor. And the oppressed is people who are treated in unfair and cruel way is called as oppressed. Here oppressor and the oppressed both must be liberated, it seems, because a man who takes away other man's freedom is always a prisoner of hatred. No one likes him. Everyone hates such person. And he is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. A person who tries to oppress others, generally he is narrow-mindedness and he is strongly disliked by others. And in continuation, there is a sentence saying that I'm not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom. If someone tries to take others' freedom, then he is not free. It's in the similar way, if when someone takes out our freedom is also, we are not free. Here, this line, Nelson Mandela says that if he wants to take the freedom of others, he is not free. If someone takes his freedom, then also he is not free. So, the oppressed and the oppressor means the person who tortures, and if not the person who is treated in unfair and cruel way, both are robbed from the humanity, it seems. Here, on the whole, the speech concludes saying that freedom is necessary. Freedom that is unrestricted, unlimited, freedom, if it is given to a man, or if not man, enjoys unlimited freedom.